There we go. All right, and we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Small Business Spotlight. My name is Drew Harrell. Thank you for tuning in. I'm here with my good friend and inspiration to many folks out there, Miss Lisa Banks. Mrs. Lisa Banks, I'm sorry. I forgot that you got married recently. So wait, what's the new, is it still Lisa Banks?
It's still Lisa Banks. I've
Okay.
been Lisa Banks a long time. It's going to be hard to give up.
Okay. Well, welcome, Lisa. Thanks for coming on the show,
Thank
talking
you.
about what you do. You have an awesome story. And we bonded initially because we were both recovering attorneys, which I think is cool. It's nice to find other coaches who are recovering attorneys.
Escapees, they call it.
Exactly. Escapees. We got out. We're never going back, right?
That's right.
So Lisa, I wanted to get a chance to share your story and where you came from, how you got to where you are right now as the CEO. I guess CEO. I'm not sure what the actual title of Optifine is, but founder of Optifine, co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder. Yeah.
Co-founder of Optifine Coaching. So tell us a little bit about your story, how you got where you are right now, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on today. It's always fun to have a conversation with you. So happy to be here.
My pleasure.
And yeah, thanks. I am one of those people that is always looking for new learning and new things. And so I've had 4 iterations of me professionally in my life, and went right out of college to law school, because I think back in those days, that's what you did. You went to med school or you went to law school. And I really wanted to be a psychiatrist, but I had no aptitude for science. So med school was completely out, and I was a decent writer. So law school was it. And actually a great education. I mean, you can probably attest. You learn how to think in law school and to trust your reasoning skills. So it was a terrific experience, and practiced law for about 10 years, mostly in the corporate space. And then I took some time off to raise kids, and that was an incredible experience, probably a real, the heart journey of my life, raising 3 kids. And then when they get to about the age where you're sort of hovering, and they start saying, "When are you going to get your own life, Mom?" I decided it was time for me to go back to work. And I looked around and I thought, I want to do something that I'm passionate about. So I actually started volunteering at a nonprofit that advocated for abused and neglected children. So it kind of had that legal piece to it, but connected with the heart of children. And so I started volunteering at Fairfax Court-Appointed Special Advocates, which is a child advocacy organization. And I remember interviewing with the CEO of the organization when I wanted to get a job there. And she said, "What is it you want to do here?" And I looked at her and I said, "Actually, I want your job." And she was like, "Great, because I want to retire in about 3 or 4 years." So, I did program management and supervision of volunteers. And finally, the day came, and the board elected me to come behind this wonderful director and be the leader. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to be a leader. I have never led anything in a law firm. You're kind of siloed. You do your own work, and you don't really, lead others. And so I asked around, and somebody recommended that I hire a coach. So I hired an executive coach, and my coach, Heather, was so extraordinary. It was such a transformational experience. She introduced me to the world of leadership, and I became absolutely fascinated by leadership, and just was insatiable in learning about it, and worked with her for probably 18 months and really helped me to hone my own leadership style in my own unique way. And I had a very different style from the leader that I had followed. And it gave me a lot of permission to tap into my own potential. So as I sort of wound my time down with Fairfax Casa, I thought, well, what do I want to do in my last, 15, 20 years of my career? Or maybe it'll be 30, since we're living longer these days. But I said, I want to do that. I want to be a coach. I want to help other leaders be their best selves. So there you have it. So I went back to school at Georgetown, where I had gotten my law degree, and went back to Georgetown's Transformational Leadership Development Program, and completely fell in love with coaching, leadership development, and all things leaderly. So that kind of led me into my own coaching practice, which I had for a couple of years. And then I partnered up with two amazing women, Pam Krulitz and Chris Carpenter. And Pam had this incredible idea to democratize coaching, to bring it to the rest of the organization, and not just to bring it to the rest of the organization for large companies, but to bring it at scale where you could coach hundreds and hundreds of leaders at a time and have maximum impact on company outcomes. And then she also, because she had a background as a technologist, she said, and we're going to build a technology platform to support and help us manage our scaled programs. So thus Optifine was born, and we're entering our third year. So we're still a startup, and we're absolutely loving the journey. So that's kind of that wasn't really a nutshell, but there it is.
No, but I mean, it's a nutshell, because there's so many years involved in that journey, right? And that's amazing. I love what you said about your coach changing the way you saw leadership and how it affected, the difference between like legal work and like the law firm leadership, quote unquote. Because a lot of times, and that's not just, I don't want to single out laws as that being the only culprit of this, right? But in a lot of different industries, you have a lot of people who get promoted to be leaders and to be managers. I don't want to say leaders because they're not leaders, but they're managers, right? They're promoted to be managing other people, and they have no idea how to manage or what leadership is, or how to look at other people and say, how do I develop this person, right? They barely know how to develop themselves, because it's not something that anyone ever teaches you. So that's really powerful that's where your journey kind of shifted towards leadership a little more.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that shift from individual contributor to leading others and doing work through others really kicks up the need for emotional intelligence. How do we motivate and inspire people? How do we coach them into their greatness? So that's what really jazzes me.
Yeah, no, and that's also cool, because it's part of your journey was also like taking the step away from working world, from your career, right? And then jumping back in and being able to jump back in such a big way and make us a big splash. Like, I mean, everyone knows your name now at this point in Georgetown community, at least. Everyone knows Lisa and Optifine. It's awesome. So I mean, tell me more about Optifine. When you were doing that, what were the biggest struggles for you and Pam and Chris as you were starting up? Because a lot of folks that listen to this channel are small business owners or want to be small business owners. And what were the biggest challenges you faced when you were starting Optifine?
Yeah, I think the challenge about a startup is being agile enough, and you know this because you're an agile coach, being agile enough to listen to the market and respond, and also not get too frenetic. You've got to put enough feelers out to see what is needed, where are we going to be of service. And you also have to be disciplined to start taking things out of the mix when you notice that they don't work. So I think that that's been a constant challenge for us, where we challenge ourselves to, is this still working, right? Not getting in our siloed thinking of, we want to bring this forward, but actually saying, what is the market saying to us? Let's test it on the market, and let's be really agile and nimble in the way that we respond, but also not go after the shiny objects all the time. So I think, that has been our real focus. So I think I don't think that's a big challenge. It's just been something we've been intentional about. I think the challenge for us was the pandemic. We had a great first year, and then we had all of these contracts and things that we were doing that were just on the brink of signing and getting ready to go. We had brought on all these fantastic coaches who we had vetted and oriented, and then crickets. Everybody was like, ooh, we're going to have to step back from that program. We're going to put it on hold for a year. And so we had to really decide, what are we going to do for this year? And we decided we would spend all of the pandemic year keeping our current clients happy and building those businesses, but really focusing on our platform and our technology, and to continue to improve that, to help us improve the way we manage our programs. But also we started to think about, what if we brought our platform to the market? Because everyone we show our technology to, they're saying, oh, that's amazing. We want that. So I think our ability to see what was in front of us and go with it, and to just trust that it would unfold and we could always pivot if we needed to, was a real asset for us.
That's awesome. And I love that, because that is an entrepreneurial idea, right? The idea of pivoting, seeing what the market gives you, taking it as feedback. Stuff happens and you gotta adjust, right? I mean, like, I think we all experienced that whole contract freeze situation last year.
Yes.
With the mass exodus of contracts. Like, yes, we're gonna sign. Oh wait, pandemic. Let's go. Let's go. We'll be back. And then
That's right. All of a sudden, leadership development is not a need to have, right? It's a nice to have.
Yeah.
And we would have argued that, of course, the pandemic was exactly the moment where leadership development is the need to have, and companies are coming back to that now. They're really bolstering their budgets for that now, but. Anyway, it was a quiet year. It was an introspective year, but I think it made us stronger. And we had to do things differently, and just be okay with that.
And that pivot is huge, though. I mean, I can't stress it enough for folks who are listening, in terms of that, being able to take that step back and say, okay, you know what, we're going to focus internally and see what we can do. What can we take away from this experience? What can we do as introspection, not just on the personal level, but also on the organizational level, right? As a company, as an organization, how do we be more introspective and see what can we do? And then that pivot to turning Optifine into a software as a service is awesome, because having used the platform myself, it's one of the better platforms out there, if not the best one I've used, frankly, for coaching, because it has a lot of different things that I personally enjoy about it. But being able to bring that to the market and say, hey, listen, for all the coaches out there who aren't Optifine coaches, but want to use a platform that can help them manage clients, help them with scheduling, help them with resources. I mean, it's a great idea to bring that to the market.
Yeah, I mean, we've been really thrilled with the response that we've gotten, both from our coaches who use the platform and say, I'd really like to have this for my own practice, and coaching companies that are starting to get interested and say, we want to sell larger and larger programs. And we all know that it's really hard to scale programs if you don't have technology to help you, because otherwise you're managing large programs on a spreadsheet. And we are just too far along in our technological advancement as a society to be managing programs on a spreadsheet. So we're sort of the dream for the program managers, and for the solo practitioners, especially, as you mentioned, newer coaches who really don't know how to set up a program, and they love that resource library. I mean, over 200 resources in the library that we've vetted, that are not our own. Some are we've written, but mostly have been the best practices in the field. The great thinkers and writers on leadership development in the field. We've curated all of that, and it's right at your fingertips, so you can just search, and it's fantastic.
And growing, 200 and growing, right?
200 and growing, yes. And I know you've supported us and helped us in our resource library as well. But the thing that I love about it, and for folks that don't know, our technology platform has a resource library that is available for anybody who would license the platform. And the resources are all formatted in the same way, where there's instructions for the client. There's a, why are you using this resource? And then there's the actual link to the resource. Is it an HBR article? Is it a TED Talk? Is it, and a small assessment? But then the best part is we have written reflection questions for your client, which you can also edit. You can go into any of the resources and edit it and make it your own for your particular client. But we've given you suggested reflection questions for your client. And then at the end, some suggestions for habits and practices that clients might want to try on, or could be fodder for your next coaching conversation. So we're really proud of what we're doing with the resource library, and mostly with especially with new coaches. That is a huge feature that they say, oh, the small licensing fee is worth it alone for the resource library. So that's been a real win for us. We're proud of it.
Absolutely. And two things about that. One thing I want to call back to one thing you said earlier about the spreadsheets. For those folks at home, spreadsheets do not scale. Okay. Anyone out there with a
Right
business,
on.
it doesn't matter if you're a coach or not a coach, spreadsheets do not scale. So please, if you're using a spreadsheet, consider another platform, whether it's Optifine or whatever you're considering. But to draw attention to back to the resource library and the way that the resources are laid out, and like you said, you have those different kind of guidelines or like, suggested questions or suggested ways to use it with clients. Especially for new coaches out there, people who are new to coaching, people who are just getting into it, it's a really, really great way to introduce yourself to those resources and how to introduce them with clients. Because that's one of the biggest gaps I face coming out of Georgetown is you have these ideas of how you want to use resources and assessments with coaches, with your coaching clients. And you have no idea how to introduce them because coaching is coaching. And then you're like, okay, well, I don't want to give you advice, but here's a resource. How do I introduce this? How do I work through this with you? How to work through this tool with you? So it's a really cool platform to take a look at least and see, how the resources are laid out, how they give you instructions about how to use them and what context that might be helpful. It's a really cool. It's you guys have really thought out all that stuff, which I think is awesome, Lisa.
Yeah.
So for the future of Optifine, in terms of the SaaS operation right now, where are you guys at right now? When's the launch going to be for that for the folks who want to be able to license it?
Yeah, well, we haven't had a formal launch, but we have been launching the licensing of the product. And so it's interesting for us, a lot of people say, well, you can either be a services company or you can be a product company. Really can't do both well. And so there's been a lot of talk for us around, can we do both well? And for now, right, taking that agile mindset, we are really feeling that both complement and support each other because frankly, we started out as a coaching services company and we used our technology to support the scaling of larger programs. And so, we were the first users of our technology. We were like, yes, this makes it better. And so I think that both really go hand in hand because we're also finding folks who are interested in the product, maybe a coaching company, and they may want to tap into some of our coaches if they have a project that's even larger than they can handle. So for now, we're really going down both lanes and we're letting them inform each other. And as I said before, we're letting the market speak to us. So as far as the launch, probably about a month ago, couple months ago, we started inviting interested folks and licensing the product to one company that wanted to use it internally. They were doing some internal coaching and they were managing it by spreadsheet. And they said, there's got to be a better way. And we were also doing coaching in that company, bringing in outside coaches. So they have an internal coaching arrangement and then they were bringing us in as outside, but they have licensed the product and they're putting their own coaches on it and inviting their employees right into the platform. So we've got that going. And we're also licensing to coaching companies that may have a cadre of coaches just like we do. We have 35 coaches at Optify, who, by the way, are the most stellar and talented individuals, you being one of them. Thank you for being on our team. And so coaching companies can also license the product, and it's called our Teams version. Because it has client and coach matching. So our matching feature is really beautiful for the team's coaching. And we also have program reports that you can spit out for your sponsors and things like that. And then we're also, I think we have probably around, maybe 20 or so individual coaches. We call them solo coaches on the platform in a different interface, which doesn't have the client matching because you don't need it as a solo coach. And so we're just starting to put people on. We're integrating Stripe so that you could just go right through our website. We're not quite there yet. We do have Stripe to process the monthly payments, but it's not all fully integrated yet. But our goal is to be that you could go to our website and say, yes, I want to try out this platform. I'm just going to sign up right here, right now. And it all just, shoots through. So that's been a big lesson for me. Pam is our technologist and she's very agile and facile with all the technology. And for this old lawyer, that's been my real growth edge, is really embracing and loving the technology. But I gotta say, when I coach on Optify's platform, and we just call it Optify, by the way. So when I coach on Optify, gosh, it makes everything simple, whether I'm a program manager or I'm being a coach of one of Optify's clients. It makes all the difference. So we are up and ready for business. And we probably will in September have a formal launch where you'll see some splashy social media and stuff like that. We're redoing our website at the moment to accommodate the fact that we are both a services and a products company. So I think what's interesting about that, and maybe some of the listeners who have small businesses, we really have had to play around with, are we a services company that has a product, or are we a product company that also has services? So we're having that conversation as well.
I love that. I think, and then that comes back to the identity of the organization, and I think when I think about identity as a business, or as the way you mentioned it, I think of George Carlin. He mentioned something a while ago in one of his interviews. Obviously, he's passed away since, but one of the really profound thing he said was back in the day, he did an interview, and they asked him like, "Oh, are you a comedian who does his own material?" He's like, "Well, look, I get that question a lot." He's like, "I'm not a comedian who does his own material. I'm actually a writer who performs his own jokes." Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's all about identity and how you want to define yourself, and I think that's awesome. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So,
And it's not written in stone, and it's not written quite yet. Really, this is that place where we are letting the work unfold and letting the market speak to us, and to see where it leads. But I think for now, we really feel that the business and the business model of having both is really serving us. And, we just have a heart for leadership development. So we want to keep doing services, and we want to keep serving companies, and we want to keep creating a coach community for our coaching team. That's really, really important to us. We see a big place in the world for what we're bringing to the coaching world. So that's something we don't want to give up. And we're completely taken with this SaaS product and what it can do. And we just hired our second developer. So we're moving faster than ever in adding new features and rethinking the way we're doing things. And what's so beautiful for us is that we've really got our ear to the ground with our customers. So as solo practitioners and coaching companies come online and put their own branding on their license of Optify, they're giving us suggestions all the time. And so we're putting that into the product development line. So, and the other thing I'll say in this world of moving into product and SaaS is that it opened up this huge world. Now we have to have a knowledge base. Now we have to have a tech support. It's got to be 24/7. We have to have customer success. All of these things that go into licensing a product to the community is no fooling. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's part of the learning journey, right? Which is awesome. I think you guys are still doing that, and maybe that's where the answer is kind of somewhere in between, right? It's like you're not necessarily products or services. You can be just a leadership development company and just support folks, which is awesome. So
yeah,
as we're coming up to time here, I want to ask two questions to end to kind of wrap up here. One is for folks out there, whether they're early stage entrepreneurs or people who are just starting out or looking to start a business, thinking about it. What's some advice you have for those folks? What are some things that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
Gosh, well, I have to say, I mean, this so unleashed the entrepreneur in me, and I love it. I love the roller coaster. I love the ride. I love the hustle. And I also have fear and doubts. And I remember going through a particularly rough period where I would just get up every morning and look in the mirror and say, you can do hard things. Just do the next best thing, right? Put one foot in front of the other today. I will also say that in our organization, we actually run our organization as a holacracy. And for folks who don't know what that is, it's an operating system. And it completely gets away from hierarchy, and it is just a fantastic way. And we are really, really open, supportive. We solve tensions. We bring up the hard conversations. I love what Brene Brown says. We rumble. We talk about the hard stuff. So, having a sounding board is really great. I would also say what's really important is don't work in an echo chamber. Seek advice. I mean, Pam and Chris and I have all reached out to icons in other industries and other fields and said to them, can we sit with you for a couple hours? Can we tell you what we're thinking about and just get your reactions? And listen, and taking that feedback and those ideas helps us not get siloed and not get stuck in our own echo chamber. So I would say, knowing that you could do hard things and looking around and see who could help you are two big things that I've relied on. And I'm sure Pam and Chris would have totally different things that they would say. So maybe you want to have them on.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love both of those. I think those are essential for any entrepreneur. The echo chambers especially is very difficult to get. It's very difficult to move forward when you're just listening to just people who have the same mindset you do and just are just like, yeah, I'm scared too. Okay, well, let's all be scared together, and let fear just keep multiplying, as opposed
That's
to
right.
where it's like, let's move past this and let's figure out how to do this.
Yeah, and I want to say, one other little thing around that is really around that. Listen to what the market's telling you, and I'll tell a short story that. Initially, I didn't think that this would be a great product for solo practitioners. And I was really going for, I want this in companies. And, that was kind of like where my mindset was. And I was driving towards that. And I finally called Pam one day and I said, listening to the market, every coach I talk to wants to license our platform. And so I'm rethinking my thinking. And so I would also say, challenge your thinking and constantly rethink your thinking. And that's, think again, right? Adam Grant, that book is one of my favorites. So I think as an entrepreneur, we really have to think like scientists and challenge our own thinking.
Yeah. And there's no ego in entrepreneurship at all.
No, there isn't. No, absolutely not. It is humbling. Completely humbling. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question I do want, I asked the question to everyone before I end the podcast, but for you personally, who were some folks that were influential in your life and your journey as you became, went from transition from attorney to social work and then to now an amazing coach and founder of a cool company?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I mean, everybody probably always says their family, and I really have to save my family. I came from a family of really strong women. My grandmother was an entrepreneur and she was a business owner back in the day when no one was. And she used to say to me, the world's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. And following on that, both of my parents, my mom and dad, unbelievable optimists. I mean, incredibly optimistic and always saw possibilities. So that's very much in my nature. And then I have to give a shout out to my coach, Heather, who changed my life and changed the way I thought about leadership and taught me that leadership is a thing and it's a lifelong journey and we're all continually growing. So I just really appreciate that optimism and the sense of possibilities that those individuals have really given me and has shaped my life.
I love that. I think that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, family is extremely important when they're able to be that influence for you, to keep pushing you forward and be an inspiration. So awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then coaches, we try to change people's lives as much as we can, right? We do the best we can with what we have. And ultimately, it's the people. I'm sure Heather, if you asked her, she would say you did the hard work. That's what I say with my clients, right? Like we can be there with the mirror, but they have to do the hard work,
That's right. So. And I will also say that as coaches, we're most successful when we're working on ourselves and doing our own work. And we are continually on the journey. And, I take my own professional and spiritual, growth as much with much importance as everything else that I do externally, because without my own internal growth, there's no way that I can sit and hold space for someone else who is struggling to grow and seeking to grow. So I really appreciate that continued growth. And this community is, without a doubt, in my 4 careers, has been the most generous community I have ever experienced. I love the coaching community and the world of leadership development. We give, there's a spirit of abundance. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place to swim around. So I'm thrilled to be in this line of work. I think I'm here to stay. There will not be a fifth iteration.
That's awesome. No, I love it too. I said that when I first joined the coaching community. I looked it around, and I didn't intend to make the friends or the relationships that I had ended up making. And I was blown away by the support, by how supportive everybody is, by how generous and genuine people are, and I think it's like you said, I think you said it perfectly. Like it's a spirit of abundance, and it's amazing. So
yeah.
Lisa, thank you
It
so much.
jazzes me. Oh yeah. Every day I wake up and I say, I get to do this. It's fantastic. And to all your listeners and to folks out there who are entrepreneurs or coaches, gosh, yeah, just get up every day and say, yeah, I can do hard things, and we can do things that we have passion for. So Drew, thanks for the conversation. This was marvelous.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Optifine and the amazing things you guys are doing, because I think it's worth amplifying. It's worth having folks hear the journey and hear what's amazing stuff that's out there. So thank you. For those of you guys who are listening to us, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're live or otherwise. Sage, I saw you joined and made a comment. Thanks for joining for this part of the conversation. And please hit subscribe, hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear an inspirational story about how to be an entrepreneur. Lisa gave some really golden nuggets out there about entrepreneurship and how to keep going within the journey. And we'll put information in the description bar for those of you who want to know more about Optifine, know more about Lisa. So thanks so much again for tuning in. Tune in next time. We're talking next time on Monday for Meaningful Monday, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks again, Lisa.
Take care. Bye.